Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the goaltenders. Obviously, it's much harder to project them, but I know you've had your eye on a couple throughout this season. So give me your top three fantasy goalies. And again, when it comes to fantasy, in this situation, it's basically your top three goalies, and your top three fantasy goalies are the same thing because you don't know what teams are going to be playing for. So the real life and fantasy value are pretty much equal in this case. So who are your top three?
Well, it's kind of the three goalies that I think have the best shot at actually being starters. And I'll start with Michael Rabbi, the Czech goalie with the Omaha Lancers, the USHL, 6'6", faced a lot of shots, whether it be the USHL, whether it be with the Czech national team. I think the biggest flaw in his game is covering the net down low. And you'll see that a lot of taller goalies. I think the biggest example of that recently was Madden Sogard, a goalie I still think highly of in the Ottawa Senators organization, but just gets beat down a lot. And part of that is kind of how they do the positioning with the reverse VH and everything
Reverse
like
VH.
that. And it hurts goalies, and tall goalies really struggle with that. He doesn't have issues with the top of the net, obviously, but we saw that kind of come to a head both at the Hlinka Gretzky and then most recently at the U18s, where he kept getting beat low, especially against the Americans, where he allowed two kind of weak goals. That being said, a guy that faces that many shots kind of at a young age and throughout his career, that bodes well for him. I think this is someone that knows how to handle that high level competition. He'll go to the NCAA. I think he'll play maybe 2 years there and then see maybe if he goes to the AHL. But he's got a good. He was very hard on himself when he would lose, but in the game, it didn't seem to bother him. He allowed a bad goal, and he was focused and make a great save the next play. So I'm very high on him being one of the best goalies this draft. Trey Augustine, about 6 inches shorter, but still a very talented goalie. We saw him take over the United States starting goalie job at the World Juniors. But in league play this year, whether that be the USHL, whether it be against college players, U18s, tournaments, everything, he went 30-1. Like, that's quite impressive. This is probably the best American goalie from the U.S. national team development program since maybe Spencer Knight and Jake Ottinger before that. So this is a guy I'm very high on. There's not a lot of flaws other than he just doesn't have NHL size. So being able to go out there and beat some college players, beat some U18 players, good on you. But the shots get a bit harder when they come to the NHL. So we'll see what he could do there. But he's very calm, very relaxed. His teammates love him. They also say he's the best at NHL 23. They did a tournament in the U18s of the whole American team. And apparently he was the guy doing all the glitch goals and all the dekes and stuff. And I thought that was funny for a goaltender. The one, though, with the biggest boom bust potential of all goalies is Adam Gajan. And we've talked about him a few times.
There's your guy.
Written about him a few times. A dude that really kind of just came out of nowhere at the World Juniors. He was a third goalie. He was only invited to the team like 4 days before the start of the tournament and ended up becoming the starting goalie, best goalie in the tournament. But then, it wasn't just that. He played really well with Chippewa with the Steel and the NAHL, a team, their league that doesn't typically have great defensemen. He goes to the USHL and goes, I think he was like 5-0-1 or 5-1-0. Either way, he was really good there too. The goalie stats, you got to take them with a grain of salt because you'll get total mixed bag on defense and junior hockey. But I think it'll be interesting to see what he could do with another year of Green Bay. I hope to go out and see him in person again and watch it. He's a really nice kid too. There's that. He's very humble, very happy to be in this position, a spot he never thought he'd be at. But from just a pure talent perspective, he's 6'3", he's very athletic. He's kind of got all the makings of a modern day goalie. And, he tries to model his game after Sergei Bobrovsky. Hopefully we're talking like first and second round Sergei Bobrovsky. Or second and third round, I guess, and not Stanley Cup final Bobrovsky, but you could kind of see it in a way. He still kind of plays a bit of an old school, like he will throw his body out there to make a save. He'll. I think one of the issues is he does overcommit, but I think the fact that he's got the size, he's got the skill, and he's kind of risen really quickly. By the time he gets to the NCAA, I think that we could be talking about a guy who's a very, very solid shot at becoming an NHL starting goalie, and maybe just becomes a great goalie in the NHL. The issue is, no one is truly certain on his value there. So I think it's a bit of risk reward there for a team that picks him, but I really think the risk is worth it.
Yeah, and just such a cool story. And there's the profile that Steven did that's on Daily Faceoff right now that came out last week. And it's just, he's like the equivalent of the struggling rapper or like pop star, wannabe pop star who is trying to shop their demo tape on the streets because, he was cutting his own highlights and no one knew anything about him a year ago. So the meteoric rise is pretty amazing. So it's an easy goaltender to root for sure.